Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on a journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney
And Kelly. Hey, Sydney.
Hey, Mom. How are you?
I'm doing really wonderful.
Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, we look very nice today because we're recording this before we go to Easter service. Yes, I know this finally, because usually we record so far ahead of time that we can't talk about anything current. But we're recording this will come out just the Sunday after Easter in a couple days. So we can be a little current. So I was we were having a conversation Friday. I'd come home from the Good Friday service, and it is truly my favorite service of the whole year. I love it, more than Easter. Yeah. I mean, I love Easter, but Good Friday is good. And then you were like, you just must it's like, I apparently like suffering.
Yes,
that's
you do.
Literally what you said.
I said because you like the suffering part. You get into it, and it's like
it just sounds so awful.
The way I said it was bad, but you empathize, so you
I
get
can
into
feel it.
What happened prior to Easter. I did say
fun.
It kind of weird.
Oh my gosh, but
and
I do like Easter outfits. I feel like are even better than Christmas ones sometimes.
Oh yeah, because it's cold and you gotta.
I know that's the downside of having a boy.
Yeah,
I don't get to pick out any cute Easter dresses. You know?
No, but they have some cute little.
Yeah, but at the same time,
shirts.
He wouldn't wear whatever I picked anyway.
That's true. He chooses his
He'd
clothes.
choose basketball shorts and a T-shirt if he wanted. So
I know.
Yeah.
But
okay,
that was always. But it saves you hours of shopping.
That's true too.
I'm looking for those dresses
to match. And
yes, because y'all matched until you finally.
Lauren didn't want to.
Yeah.
I would have matched.
You would have matched today.
Yes.
That's so funny.
Yes, she's the one that doesn't want to.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Bucked the system for me.
Yes, but so it's because
that was fun picking out those dresses.
I like the suffering. Speaking of suffering, so we had Good Friday service on Friday, and then last night we went to the opera, and that was a tragedy.
It was.
Oh yeah.
It was.
Yeah. So we did. So we decided we want to do another experience episode.
And I had never been to the opera.
Ever. No. Now I hadn't been to
Phantom
one
of the Opera, but
that doesn't count. I had been only to collegiate, college productions, because at OU, when I was there, I went to several, usually once a year, and then at OCU I went to one, and then I assisted for another, and so I've been around opera, just not I hadn't seen a professional paid. No, I'd seen one professional opera, but even that wasn't this scale. This was bigger.
Okay.
So I hadn't seen a professional one, which is good. But I liked it.
I did too. I have to say that going into it, prior to going, I said, if it gets really long,
we were maybe
I checked out where our seats were in case I needed to exit.
Yes.
But we didn't. I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about opera, and then I want
to give a little. So
talk about if you haven't gone before. I have some preparations for you.
Yes. You always bring books. Oh my God.
Yes. Well, they're not that big.
I know. I have the book this time. This is, if you've been to music school, The Oxford History of Western Music by Richard Taruskin. Oh my God, this is like the Bible of music history. It is, let's see, I think about over 1,000 pages. And it literally goes from the beginning of, music until it gets to it'll get into the 60s.
Yeah.
And even at the end, talks about the alleged death of classical music in the late 20th century. But anyway, if you're not watching, it's freaking huge. Oh my gosh. Yes. And I would lug that thing around every now and then. But it was useful for a lot of music history classes. So I got some of my info from there. I was like, I dug through
refresh
our back
you on
closet.
opera.
Yes. Okay. So very brief history. there was music, but it was never really set to any sort of dramatized play, and it was in Italy, the Medici court, the Medicis that reigned for a long time. It was The Tale of Orpheus, and Orpheus is a huge player too in opera. Okay. The Tale of Orpheus, and it was by a Medici court poet, Angelo Poliziano, and that was in 1589. So was that 16th century?
Wow. Okay.
And we have no actual record, like we don't have the written music of it, but we just know like from other writings that it happened. And literally they called it musicalized dramatic presentations. So it was, but it was like the first time music was put to dramas.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Because the Greeks had their, Greek tragedy and all that stuff, but there wasn't, you'd sometimes have a Greek chorus, but they didn't really sing. And then in 1597, for the word like true opera, La Daphne, and that was basically about when Daphne is chased by Apollo and turns into a laurel tree. So a lot of early operas were all about the Greek stories.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Yeah, a ton. Like that's just how it started. Okay. And then from there, honestly, so Venice, then in like the 17th century, you got what we call opera buffa, so it's like comic operas, like funnier things. And for a long time, through the centuries, there's always been a fight between having more serious literally opera seria, and having more comic operas, which is what was more crowd pleasing. But people, of course, it's always about purity of the music, and why. Yeah. And so to me too, I look at the history of opera, and to me, it's just like, how big does opera get? So it starts really small in these little courtrooms, and then I think through the centuries, just bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because then you get the giant productions of Wagner, you get into like today's Met productions, and like to me, it's just opera getting bigger.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's so interesting. because opera, it goes along with the rest of music. It sometimes will push music history forward, and sometimes it follows. So like, just to give people, like maybe you think, I don't know anything about opera, but you probably have heard some of these. Big person, especially after like this Italian era and stuff. Mozart, Don Giovanni is huge. Così fan tutte. We've got Magic Flute. And he just Marriage of Figaro, all this. And if you were to hear this music is out in the you would know some of this music. And then pretty soon after that, Rossini, Barbara of Seville, which they're doing next season too. Very Othello. Yeah. And then you start to get into Romantic era stuff, and that's really when the operas that like people produce all the time kind of start coming out. You've got Wagner with the Ring Cycle, which is literally a 4-day affair of watching that. It is. Yeah, no, people make like pilgrimages to go and see this produced. And then Donizetti wrote a lot, Verdi, Rigoletto, Bizet's Carmen, which has a ton of popular TV shows and stuff. I've used music from Carmen for sure. And then even people think, a lot of even my knowledge is just like, oh, well, you have all these big romantic, lovey operas. Yeah. No, it keeps going. You've got Prokofiev, Shostakovich. They're like more modern, getting into kind of that post-romantic era. Okay. And then the Billy Budd by Herman Melville. No. Okay. Well, it's a good book.
You're
anyway,
talking to your mom.
Benjamin Britten wrote an opera, and then now we get into the 60s, 70s. You have Philip Glass, who people know because he's written scores for film and stuff. And then John Adams, very popular. My favorite. I think, honestly, my favorite opera, John Adams, Nixon in China. Okay. And it's about Nixon's trip to China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's very
interesting.
It's very good, a little political, but in a good way, funny. Yeah. One of my favorites. Okay. And then probably the most recent opera that caused a lot of stir, the Met put it on in 2021. It was written in 2019. Fire Shut Up in My Bones. And Fire Shut Up in My Bones.
Shut Up in My Bones. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And it's the first opera produced that was written by an African American that the Met put on. They had some criticism to it, but they still put it on. My favorite conductor, Yannick, was the one that conducted it. Cool. But yeah, and so like opera is still being written. There's Nico Muhly, If you look him up, you probably actually have heard some of his music. I was at OCU when we put on his opera Dark Sisters, about Mormon polygamy and stuff. It was interesting. But so opera is still being written.
But I think for opera, it has to be around a while before more people hear about it. The newer ones, right?
Yes.
Because
Dark Sisters has been around for a long time, but
right? It takes a while because you put it on in one spot. Well, how many people go to it?
Yeah.
How many people, it takes a while to catch steam. It's not like a Broadway thing where you can hear it.
And then they'll go on tour with it,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. And operas can be a bigger deal to kind of produce and stuff. And I think an opera has that. So, I mean, it's classical music. It is classical music. Yeah. Broadway, you can hear is more pop music.
Right.
And so it has the same dilemma as classical music. How do you get a crowd? Yeah. And the way that you get them is by doing these older, more popular, the Barber of Seville, Magic Flute operas, things that people do kind of know and know the tunes to and stuff. And Madame, you'd heard of Madame Butterfly.
Yes.
We just hadn't ever been before.
No.
Like you knew it was an opera. Yeah. And so, it has that same dilemma as classical music. But yeah. And so Madame Butterfly, let's get into it. Puccini is written in 1904, but still very romantic, like kind of at the end of the romantic cycle. Tragedy, like a lot of operas back then.
Right.
I'm not spoiling anything. She dies at the end.
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, I heard somebody gasp. Did you hear that in Act 3?
Did.
And I was like, did you not read? Like, they give you a summary. I'm like, did you not read the summary? Like, her
but I
husband
think it's
comes
just the
back
way
in.
she was so dramatic with it. Maybe that was it.
Maybe, but and it's like, watching a soap opera and you don't expect this person to come back and you just, I was like, girl.
Oh, that's funny.
So funny. But anyway, very good, put on by Opera San Antonio, the Orchestra of San Antonio. And then they, I think, have some sort of deal with Austin because they'll go perform this in Austin too. Yeah. But yeah, tragedy, dies at the end. Very good though.
It is.
But it's about, it reminded me of Miss Saigon.
I was going to say that.
Right, Miss Saigon. So if you've seen the musical Miss Saigon, very similar. It just takes in a different time frame. So it's set after the Americans story. Have won World War II in Japan.
Yeah.
But it's, same thing. The lieutenant from America marries a very young Japanese girl and then leaves and comes back and then
with his wife has
to give up her kid. 'Cause, that whole thing with Miss Saigon, but Miss Saigon was Vietnam is the only difference. So, but no, I really liked it. So how was your experience?
Let me just say, if you go to an opera, say you haven't been before.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't been.
Yeah.
Put yourself in slow gear.
Yeah.
Because everything,
it's
they
drawn
had,
out.
it was, the words were up on the screen, up above it. It wasn't distracting like I thought it would be. And you have plenty of time to read the words and then watch them sing it because the words are up there and it's 2 sentences, but it takes them 5 minutes to say it, sing it, whatever, in Italian. And so you just have to put yourself in slow gear. Because it's so different than a Broadway musical where there's action going on, And again, there were slow parts in it, just like there, in every musical, there's either a dance number or something that you're like,
can we move on?
Well, there was one of those in this too. It wasn't a dance, but
it was like setting the next scene.
Yeah, and so, but I was really impressed with all the diversity there.
Yes, the crowd was real.
Crowd was very diverse of ages and ethnicity, everything. It was really. I was really pleased with that.
I will say, also, if you go to an opera, don't wear a cowboy hat.
There was some guy on he was like toward the front too.
Oh my God! And I was like, okay, well maybe he'll take it off.
No, he didn't.
No. Oh my God! If I was in my head and been like, I'm paying to see the opera, not to see your hat.
Yeah, I couldn't believe.
I would have said
something.
I
don't care if you're in Texas or
wherever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so don't wear hats.
No, please. Give everybody a nice view of the stage.
Funny. Yeah, thankfully, right in front of us. But, so, I really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure how I would or if I'd last.
I know.
But I did. There was a lull in the middle.
Yeah. But I think it was literally between Act 2 and 3. So I think they were just trying to.
They were just setting it up. And I get that. Yeah. And I thought, okay, just relax into this and watch them because they're setting it and they're doing this slowly so that you will be prepared. And
the music during that time was really good.
It was.
And then.
But what was funny is we're listening to it and all of a sudden I'm like, I know that song from another one.
Yes. It had like the same melody as Bring Him Home from Les Mis.
It was like should I start singing Bring 'Em Home?
I know. That was
and then there was also another one, and it sounded like Memories from Cass.
Yes. But if you think about it,
I know. No, there's all music. It's going to have stuff in it. Everything's taken from everyone else.
And I can't remember the composer of Les Mis. But, I mean, you think if they were studying music, they've heard this stuff.
And there's only so many notes.
Yeah, that's true, too.
And how you put them together.
Yeah. But it was just funny. It was good.
But it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. I was pleasantly surprised, and I would go again.
Yeah, I figured
to another one.
There would be enough visually to keep you entertained.
Yes, there was a little bit of humor in there.
There was.
Which was good. I mean, not a lot, but there was.
Every time, I mean, Puccini's Italian, and then every time he would slip in the Star Spangled Banner tune in there. So funny.
That was cute.
It was very well done every time. Yeah. So good.
So that was it. I thought it was well
honestly,
done. The singers were
amazing. They were really good.
But now you noticed that the orchestra was out of
they kind of
touch a bit.
They
at the beginning.
They synced in more after, because they had intermission after the first act. Act 2 and 3 I didn't notice as much, but there were a couple times in the first act where the violins weren't on their higher, but were not in tune with the singer, and part of me is they're right there. Can you just adjust? And then there was another time the clarinet was not being in tune with the bassoon. It was come on, you're sitting right next to them. Can we get this locked in? So there were just a couple points, and I was and it just kind of takes you out of it for a second as a musician.
I was going to say that's the difference between going and not knowing and just going.
Yes. But then I didn't notice hardly anything in the second, so I think they locked in.
Yeah, locked in. It was good. Yeah, that was funny. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't notice, but that's okay.
Yeah,
but you do.
Yeah, but it was really good. And people can have their criticisms about opera and basically anything written that's from the past of these women are always put in these roles where they're the victims and where they have to experience this tragedy, and the men are in this. But honestly, I feel like Madame Butterfly was a very good commentary on American colonialism.
Yes.
And really good commentary on the main male character, he was not painted in the most positive light. He was kind of made fun of a little bit throughout the whole thing, and and the issues of they kept telling the American colonel that was there, lieutenant, sorry, that was there, and it was Pinkerton, be careful, she's really sincere, foreshadowing all this stuff, and basically, and it was a criticism to me on what happened. And I think in the end, these are roles I would think female opera singers enjoy singing. It really, it can stretch you, and it just casts light on see, wasn't this such a bad thing? We shouldn't do it again.
Well, yeah. And also you could think about what it was about, but also most of the operas, when were they written? They aren't modern. Yeah. Right? And so depiction and who wrote them and those type of things, right? Are there any female
opera composers? Yeah.
But
not many, but there are.
I thought what was funniest is at the end when they came out to take the bow.
Oh, yes. The guy that was playing the Lieutenant Pinkerton, who, was kind of the bad guy.
Yeah.
He came out and we started to applaud. And then people started booing him. And
I've never seen that. And
he was like, bring it on.
Bring it on. Yeah.
So fun. And then people clapped. But that was really, I'd never experienced that before. That was really funny.
Which was good, but I think that then is a commentary on the audience. Going, that's not good for us. We got into it. We didn't do that very well. And that, for the Americans.
Yeah. And then I think just they got into it. They were like, we know you're the bad guy. The audience was invested, which is interesting. Yeah, that was really funny.
I'd never seen that before. That was fun.
Yes, that was funny.
Yeah.
And people kind of dressed it if you go to the
all
opera,
different
you can
ways.
dress, kind of however you want. I was in, nice black jeans and a blouse, but
and I mean, people dress from high up dresses to casual, nice casual.
No, nice casual.
But it was,
a range you can wear whatever you want.
Right, you can just be comfortable, and just because there are all kinds.
Yeah.
So, and Tobin Center in San Antonio, really nice. There's not a bad seat, and it was just...
and comfy.
Comfy in here,
for sure.
It was very nice. They did a good job on that. I think it's 10 years old now.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So what are your tips for people?
Slow down, be in a slow-mo mood.
Yeah.
And, I understood, well, they're stretching out the songs, I had to get over the fact that if they talked that, we'd be done. But
But it was, I know, Sydney, I know.
Oh,
But just to go and just relax into it.
Yes.
And
yeah.
They, to be able to sing and convey so much.
Yes.
Because it is slow. It's not like you're talking. There's so much, Broadway, there's so much movement and all that. And they just have to really stretch it and get into it and expressions and express themselves. So that was.
It is. It's a very different style of acting for sure.
Yeah. Go. Don't think it's too highfalutin, or I won't get this. And it was very easy if you read the notes ahead of time.
Yes, and you know what's going to happen. Yeah.
And then, like I said, the translations are above, and it's not distracting.
Yeah.
Gives you time to read it and then watch.
Yeah, and I think like anything, the more you go, like the more you appreciate it. Like honestly, luckily for me with my music, it was like I could tell it's like, oh yeah, that theme was from earlier and now he's putting it here. And it's like I could like listen for that sort of stuff too. So the music aspect. And I'm always somebody anyway. I don't, when I first listen to, any song, doesn't matter. If it has words, I don't listen to the lyrics first. I listen to the melody. I'm listening for the chorus. I'm listening for everything else. And then the second or third time I listen to it, then I'm listening to the lyrics. And so for me with opera, it's like, okay, I can read what they're singing about. Yeah. And then I can listen to the music and hear, that, like affection, like happening in it.
No, and I really enjoyed the music.
Yeah.
I did. And sometimes I would just close my eyes so I could just hear the orchestra and not be distracted by things.
Yeah, you like to do that when I take you to the symphony and stuff. You do that too.
Yeah.
But I
give
really,
it a try.
I think,
and again, if it's so bad,
then leave.
You can leave.
Just go.
As Sydney told me, you paid for your ticket, you can go.
Yeah, you can go whenever you want.
When you want.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, people, it's like, oh, it's so long. It was 3 hours. Come on. If you go to a movie, a lot of times, they're freaking, it's going to be 3 hours. Too. Musicals are that long.
Yeah.
You could, I think there's so many things that are that long. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're not listening, again, like if you're not in that mindset of things are going to be stretched out, if you're not in that mindset of just sitting there to enjoy it, then anything would feel slow.
Yeah, you're right. So just go and enjoy it, know.
Yes.
I would give it a try. And I don't know, they weren't that expensive.
No.
These tickets, San Antonio, but I don't know what others are. But
again,
buy them direct, they just weren't outrageous.
No. I mean, at all. And, if you want, you can get a drink when you're there.
I was going to say that, yeah.
I decided my new goal in life is to have my name on a bar at a concert hall.
That's what Sydney wants. That is so funny.
It was like, I can't remember, but it was like the something bar. And I'm like, somebody paid for that.
That's right.
That's what I want to do.
That's what you want. You want Sydney or you want Arendelle?
Symphonic Bar or something like that.
Sydney Symphonic Bar.
I don't know, whatever. And then I'd pop in and start bartending. Oh my God.
That would
goal.
be okay.
I want my name on a bar in a concert hall.
All right. We have our goal.
I mean, out of everything else that you could pay for, and like, come on, that's got to be.
That's pretty cool.
Well, and it's got to be not the highest ticket item, surely.
Yeah. No.
I got to start saving now.
I like that. Okay.
Right? Yeah, that's my new goal. But so you would go again. Well, they've got Magic Flute and Barbara of Seville.
I'm going to look up both of those and see which one I'd want to go to.
Oh, I love a good Mozart opera.
Okay. Which is Mozart?
The Magic Flute.
Okay.
They're so funny and just like witty. Music is always on. But Barbara of Seville's good too. We can look into it. But,
I'll look into it.
Yes. But yeah, so if you have an opera in your area, try it out.
Try it out. Just give it a shot.
Give it a shot. You can leave whenever you want.
Or you can surprise yourself and stay like I did.
Stay for the whole thing. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And then next week on our podcast, we finish out our April and talk about personal taste and personal growth. That actually ties into this pretty well.
It does.
Maybe your personal taste is to go to the opera. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're talking about next week before diving into Mental Health Month for sure. But yeah, if you go to the opera, let us know. You can message us.
Yeah, tell us one of your favorites.
Yes.
On before.
Instagram, Facebook, our website. We have our email at incompleteguide@gmail.com. All of the ways to get in touch with us.
Yeah, so we look forward to next week when we take a breath and take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.